Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this program sponsored by the International Association for Peace and Economic Development. It's one of the primary associations of the Universal Peace Federation. The UPF is an NGO in general consultative status with the Economic and Social Council of the United Nations. So my name is Roger Weatherall, and I'll be the moderator for the program today. And I just wanted to introduce a little bit about this program. So it's a little different from what we've done in the past, but over the last year or a year and a half, many of the leaders of IAED across the world have been thinking about what does it really mean to have an economic system that is based on something different than the right wing or the left wing systems. And we've come up with this idea of a headwing economics. So we've worked together to put together a paper which was sent out as part of the email. I hope everybody received that in the email. And if you want to let me know if you read it, you can put your comment into the chat. But this framework of headwing economics is something that should transcend the traditional left wing and the right wing ideologies by bringing people together from diverse ideological, political, and cultural backgrounds to talk about a higher unifying perspective about a perspective that's based on spiritual and moral principles and not just on the external business or macroeconomic policies. We want to think about what are we really trying to accomplish in terms of the economics. So we're promoting a fresh approach that's trying to harmonize values and guide economic systems towards a more equitable and sustainable outcomes. So I wanted to introduce this project today. And we have some of the authors of this document together, and they're going to go through it a little bit and explain some of the principles behind it. And then we really want to open it up for discussion. So we're inviting you to participate and to offer your comments in the chat. But also, if you would like to offer some commentary or some additional thoughts about it, then at the end of the program, we would like to invite you to come on as well. And I'll set the expectations after we get through the introduction session. So to start off, I wanted to introduce my friend and colleague, Alan Jessen, who is the coordinator for IAED in North America. Alan graduated from Grinnell College in Iowa with a BA in International Economics, and he has 34 years of experience in small business management and ownership. He has 9 years experience in the government and nonprofit sector, where he served as the Economic Development Director for the Iowa Northland Regional Council of Government and as the Executive Director of Silos and Smokestacks, which is a federally funded National Heritage Area in Waterloo, Iowa. And he's going to introduce the document and how we came to write it. So Alan, over to you.
Very good. Thank you, Roger. And again, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us here today for this. I'm going to share my screen. And here we go. Hopefully it's the beginning. Oops. Let's scroll down. Okay, good. So we have, this is our small team here. We actually had another brother from Enrique from Spain. So we were crossing the time zones, and we've been at this for about a year. And it's been a challenging but very enriching project to try to get our arms around what is headwing economics. And so a little background, I want to set this up because I think it's valuable to understand. But IED was established 2020. Tom McDivitt encouraged us to work across the different regions. And I had this conversation with Victor Castillo when we were preparing for an international leadership conference. And he said a lot of people, when he meets with them about Universal Peace Federation and our three core principles of interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universal values, they asked, well, what is it that you really stand for in the realm of economics? What specifics can you tell us? So that got me thinking, and a lot of us have similar questions. How can we really get a grasp on it? So that was a start, and then I began meeting with the group out of the Europe and Middle East, led by Enrique Sanchez Motos. And a couple of the national representatives are here today, Terry Sweeney from England and Johan from Austria. So thank you for joining us. But we had a working group on what is headwing economics. I kind of led that. I wrote a paper and kind of pointing to it, the concept of economic democracy as a theme that I felt matched up with our goals and with Universal Peace Federation and with the writings of Dr. Moon. So that was just a little bit of my journey in all of this. Then in 2023, I was given a book by Dr. Selliver from the Professor's World Peace Academy, and it was entitled Interdependence, Mutual Prosperity, and Universal Values. And there were 6 chapters on economics, and these were written by scholars in Korea and Japan. So I just want to throw those up to you. That's the book, and they're very, very fascinating chapters. One of them that, of course, caught my eye was the study on economic democratization based on unification thought, which is the philosophical basis of our movement's, ideas. And they were really trying to apply that to the nation of Korea as it faces a kind of fork in the road of which way they want to go with their economy. But there were other theories in there, the principle of joint ownership. But this was a recurrent statement in some of the chapters, and I'll just read this. It says, "It is hoped that the principle of interdependence arising out of unification thought can provide a theoretical basis for presenting a fresh discourse on modern economic theory and economic systems." So as Roger said, we're trying to grasp what the future would be, what we can build of economy. And sometimes, as these authors noted, it can be really aspirational and very high level vision of a world of peace and mutual prosperity. But how do we get that down to the ground? And so that's been a lot of my focus, trying to understand that. So, and of course, it's a challenge. So then in April 24, we met John Bellavance, and he had written this lengthy paper on Headwing, creating a harmonious, sustainable civilization. And there were 2 chapters in there on economics that John had written about, and we found that very valuable as a starting point. So we kind of worked with that. I told him about the group with Europe, and so we collaborated. Abe was actually part of that group out of Europe as well, Mr. Wone. And so we convened, we started pulling together ideas and working towards it. Our goal was really just to get a grasp and have a tool, have a booklet, a small paper that would enable conversations, and we can show it with people, like-minded economists, organizations, to give us some ground. So that's kind of was our purpose. But also we had a kind of a vision here, because John had previously edited this book, Educating with Values, and he edited it, and there's experts in different fields contributing to that book. So we felt that might be a vision and model, something we could do with economics for the future. So that's kind of a longer term goal. Mr. Wone is the lead writer of this project. So he's a beautiful writer, and he's written extensively for unification thought topics. I think you'll enjoy his presentation. Enrique Sanchez Motos contributed many ideas. He was a government official in Spain, and he worked with microeconomics and a lot of government efficiency, total quality management concepts that he was working on with Headwing. But eventually, he kind of felt our product here was a little longer than he wanted to utilize, and maybe a little philosophical. So, but he contributed a lot. I just wanted to recognize that. And Roger contributed a lot of critical input at the end, especially, and did the editing. So again, we see this paper not as the not as the final product. Obviously, it's a beginning, We're inviting conversation. And as I mentioned there, if you encounter people with economic expertise that want to contribute and help us shape this and bring it into a better focus, we'd love to have that. A referral, work with people. We got some input from Gordon Anderson, who's um, part of our book. A few things he has said because he's written a lot about his integral society and economics. So thank you for that. And then I just wanted to mention that um, a lot of our focus has been on identifying barriers and finding solutions to the wealth gap. And Dr. Walsh, who was the chairman of the Universal Peace Federation, oftentimes spoke of that as a major concern, even worldwide. So, and we all share some of that concern as well. So, a lot of our programs, if I can bring them up here, they're not coming up, huh? Oh, there they are. A lot of our programs over the last couple of years has focused on this issue, um, how to realize greater shared prosperity. And in particular, we've highlighted issues in finance and the banking sector that exist as barriers to mutual prosperity and a healthy, independent economy that exists for all. So that's you'll find that kind of throughout the paper, as well as other issues. But uh, that's really what I wanted to share as a beginning, Roger. And I guess I'll introduce Dr. Bellavance, and then Roger can bring up. So uh, John lives in Australia, and it's in the middle of the morning out there. So he's also, he and his wife were somewhere in the bush, Australian bush. I don't know where, but they're getting a little getaway. So he recorded a 5 minute introduction from his thoughts. And I might warn you, we gave him 5 minutes. And so at 5 minutes, he did a hard cutoff. So please enjoy Dr. John Bellavance. Thank you. And I'll stop my share here. Yeah. Okay.
Hello, everyone. John Bellavance here. I'm here to speak to you about Headwing economics, which you've heard about is a new framework for sustainable growth and shared prosperity. But the question is, why do we need Headwing thought? And like this young man looking at the sunset, all of us are looking at the world today, and we seem to scratch our heads and think, what's going on in the world today? We feel frustration because there seems to be very little common ground about how we can actually solve global problems, how we can deal with economic problems, and have shared prosperity. Of course, the key problem is the polarization that's occurring in our world. This polarization has been referred to as a common enemy identity politics. It's this us versus them mindset. Look at the world today and you see this attitude, we're right and you're wrong. If you look at social media or you look at what is going on in our debates about the environment, about economics, you find this us versus them mindset. We're losing the opportunity to talk to each other. We're losing the opportunity to go to the center and find what has also been referred to as a common humanity identity approach. The media, unfortunately, and politicians often rely on this us versus them view to promote their cause and get attention. This causes them and the public to lose a sense of values that we share and what binds us together as people. Hence the need not for the left wing and the right wing and the us versus them, but a headwing approach that we can find shared values and that we can work together towards a better world. Headwing advocates for this third way, which integrates positive aspects of both left and right. Wow, that's revolutionary. Aiming to create a balanced and harmonious society based on universal values such as truth, love, and justice. The founder of the Universal Peace Federation, Dr. Moon, said many years ago, and this was truly 30 years ago or so, talked about the need for a new approach. We see this need so deeply today in our divided, polarized world. He said, neither the left ideology nor the right wing ideology will work. We need a movement through which a new advanced right wing type can be supported by a left wing, and a new advanced left wing type can be supported by the right wing, which means that the left and right can come together and learn from each other. For those who think that the left will save us, it will not happen. For those who feel, well, right now the right will save us, that will not happen either. We need a new approach. Headwing. Let me talk a little bit about the more value-centered idea behind the values that underpin, or the values approach that underpin, uh, if you like, our headwing. And that is that we call this the heart. The heart is the desire to love and be loved, which is fundamental in our lives. In fact, it's the motivation that sets the purpose and direction. Hence, love sets the direction for plans and actions which lead to goodness. This may sound warm and fuzzy, but the value of love sets the standard of how we behave. This brings us to the sense of what the cultural sphere is about, the role of the cultural sphere. So the cultural sphere includes, of course, faith traditions and philosophy, morality, and all of the institutions that create the cultures that we are in. So the cultural sphere, that is why it's important to change our value system or our mindset, become global citizens, because the cultural sphere must take the leading role in guiding political and economic sphere, because it shapes human consciousness. It does this by transmitting values, goals, and knowledge that enable individuals to pursue relationships and economic necessities.
So thank you. That was John's kind of introduction to Headwing economics. And I know he kind of cuts it short at the end, but it gives a little bit of a sense of what we're trying to accomplish with this document. And to expand on that a little bit further, I'd like to introduce now Abdoulaye Wone, who has been instrumental in putting together a lot of this content. Uh, Abdoulaye is a freelance writer and researcher, has authored a number of children's books, a series called Reading First Level that's available in South Korean bookstores, as well as a Life of Hyojong series for high school and university students across Africa. And his research has also been published in the Journal of Semolology, which is about the new village movement that was established in Korea and has expanded throughout many parts of the world. And he's also been working on that in Africa as well. And he's been instrumental in putting together many of the ideas that we have put into this economics paper. So, Abdoulaye, could you please unmute and share your presentation with us? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Roger. And also thank you for all of you who came to attend this webinar. We are very grateful. Thanks to the technician also who is putting together this. Oh, okay. So I am basically going to introduce the booklet, the ideas, and what we plan to achieve through it. So let me share my screen with you. Okay, yeah. I'm going to talk about this Headwing Economics. It's a vision for harmony and economic prosperity. As you have heard with Dr. John and also Alan, we went to everything about life is about its balance. We cannot be just make money and there are some social issues and environmental issues should be balanced. So this new framework for shared prosperity and sustainable growth is, of course, presented by the International Association for Peace and Economic Development. Myself, I am the representative of IED Africa. Can you hear me well? Okay. So as you know, we are at the crossroad. There's a crisis that we're living today. There's persistent inequality. I am from Africa, and I live in Canada. The differences is so big in terms of economic development. Of course, there they have maybe some natural resources, but they don't have the resources to add value to those natural resources. They don't have the finances. So there's an accumulation of those resources like manufacturing resources or even money in other places. So that's what the world we're living in. It's not about just one nation, it's about the world. We're thinking about the world, the planet, how we can make it strive. So economic models have of course, lifted from poverty in many places. Like you have seen China, even in America, you have these ESOP, the employee stock, um, employee stock option or plan, ownership plan. Yeah, those have been very successful in many parts of the world, in America, in Europe, in Spain, but these are just spots, some kind of pockets success. But also, you have seen that some countries like Korea have grown from, adverse poverty to becoming one of the maybe 11 economies in the world. We have seen some economic development here and there, but we cannot just think of few countries or few places. We have to think globally how we can resolve the problem of the world today. Also, one of the issues is exclusion from opportunity. Innovation has created unprecedented wealth, but many remain excluded from this opportunity. As you know, many people live off $1 a day or $1 a month. It's really, while some people can just make billions of dollars in a day if they have a stock. It's kind of irony, and they golfing or having a good time while their money is working for them. So this thing has to be reversed in a way. Of course, I spoke also about the resource distribution. We have abundant resources. It's not lacking. Africa has a lot of resources, but we struggle to share them in a way that is uplifting all. In Africa, of course, people have resources, countries have resources. We have also corruption. Government, like people who have, maybe have 20% of the population who live very wealthy, while 80% of the population, nothing. They surviving every day. Anyway, that's the world we live in. And these are the issues that we're trying to resolve. But to resolve it is not a solution of one person. We have to come together, whether we are right wing, left wing, come together to solve the problem. So now I'm going to introduce the Headwing economics. So first is people-centered. It is a vision for an economy that serves people, value dignity, and nurture the planet. So as you know, development is not about aid. Of course, as you know, in Africa, there have been millions and billions of dollars that have been given in form of aid, but it seems like nothing changed, became worse. Because this aid hasn't been given with dignity. It has been just handing out or giving people, giving, and it creates a spirit of dependence. So they give us, says there is no creative, there is no striving to contribute. So in this planet, we all have to contribute, and we all have the potential to contribute with the right mindset, with the right resources, things can happen. The second point of economic headwing in interdependent prosperity, rooted in the belief that true prosperity is interdependent. So when we uplift others, we will rise. These people that we believe they are poor, they are potential customers for businesses if you raise them and make them strive, uh, put on them the right mindset, help them to contribute to our society. And it's possible. We have the resources, we have also the know-how. We're just not coming together to do it. The last point is the balanced success. Let me just move this over. Success is measured not by accumulation alone, but by contribution, impacts, and shared opportunities. We believe that if someone says that I've been a successful person, it's not just about I have how many jets you have, how many houses you have, how many airplanes you have, or private jets, whatever, but how much have you contributed to society? How much impact, social impact did you have? How many opportunities do you have you given to others? How many leaders have you multiplied? How many times did you multiply yourself as a leader? Multiplied 100, 2,000. That's what we call success. And also when the planet is well taken care of, when we don't make money at the expense of people and the environment. Anyway, those are the key elements that we're working on. Of course, you may think, oh, okay, some companies are doing it already, but it's, as I said, it's just isolated situation. We have to do it globally. It's a global situation. We cannot just think on an individual level. We cannot think on a national level. We have a regional level. We have to go into planetary level so that we can solve our problem today. Okay, then we need a paradigm shift because there's a mindset that is maybe affecting us. For me, I believe poverty is a disease, a mindset disease or mindset problem. Most of us, or some of us, have this scarcity mentality. There's not enough. That creates when there's not enough. Of course, this is also the model, the capitalist model. You have to make things scarce so that the demand is higher, so then you can sell at a higher price. So that mentality is there. But we believe that there's abundance. Like just every year, there's a lot of things that have been discovered. Like in Senegal, they never had. I'm from Senegal. They didn't have oil. They didn't have gold. But just recently, they found a lot of oil. And in many other parts of the world, they're finding things, new things. Also, there are many things that we don't know how to use. Right? Maybe you don't know how to use sand. There's a lot of sand in the Sahara Desert. Maybe it's a gold mine. It's something that can be, there's so many things so many discoveries with technology, with advancements in innovation. There are many things that we don't know how to use that we will use in the future as fuel or whatever. So resources we have a lot of resources in abundance, but the problem is we're not managing them well with wisdom, care that can support all of us. It's still, there's this element of selfishness, nationalism, my nation. Of course, it's good to be, I'm not saying that you shouldn't have a strong nation. You should have a strong nation. You should have a strong region. You should have a strong family. You should have as an individual, you have to be strong, healthy. But you should, in the same time, think about others, about other nations. How can I, when I'm strong, how can I serve others? How can I contribute to others, other nations, like America, who is a strong nation today? I mean, some of course argue it's not, but I still believe America is economically, militarily, and in many ways is a very strong nation. It is a very powerful nation. But of course, there are many weaknesses. Hopefully, it will be strengthened. But that strength has to kind of motivate America to serve the world, to make the world a better place, not just America, but make America better. And that will elevate the value of America. It will give value. People can respect that. People can gravitate around America. So the second point is from ownership to shared responsibility. Of course, we do not, one thing that we need to know that we do not own this world. We are here to take care of this world, but especially to take care of this world for future generation. We are not here forever. So it's like I think there's a saying that true sharing responsibility is to plant a tree where you're not going to enjoy the shades. It's for, you're planting it for the next generation. So that kind of attitude we need to have, kind of mindset. So we can move into creating a better world, at having a kind of a sense of global citizen. We are not just citizen of one nation, but we are global citizen, all of us. We are called to be global citizen. This is the time with this interaction through telecommunication, social media. Also, you have the transportation revolution with the airplane and all these things. We are connected, we are interconnected. Some people think we are a village, one village. That's the reality. In the olden days, maybe we didn't have this opportunity to travel, but today, with travel, with telecommunication, with social media, it's just amazing. We are connected wherever we are, whatever we do. The next shift is from transaction to transformation. We're not just doing some transaction. I'll give you this and give you back this. I give you because I want you to be. I do something to you because I want you to be. So then you can contribute as I'm contributing to this world. I want you to be a contributor. I don't want you just to be a receiver, but I want you to contribute. So uplift, we should uplift society, nurture families and empower individuals through that. So then transformation can take place in every part of the world so that we can create a global world, a global citizenship where we can solve all these problems of migrations, problem of war, territorial disputes. All these things will be resolved when we move from transaction to transformation. So the core values of the Headwing economics, individual sovereignty, but we not undermining like individuals are important in the society, and every person has the right to strive and contribute. So individual ownership, individual contribution. You own to contribute. You thrive to contribute. Also, the second part is family foundation. Strong families create strong societies. Of course, strong individuals, when they marry, when they form families, they create a strong society, a strong nation, etc. So also, the other point is border access. Ownership should not be limited to a few. So we all own this planet. We're all here. We have been sent here for a purpose. Unfortunately, some of us haven't been given a chance because the opportunity is not there. But we have to give equal opportunity to everyone to be able to contribute. You can see how wonderful the world will be. And I believe at the core of every individual, they want to contribute. They want to do something, but they haven't been given the opportunity. Whether it's the environment, the economic environment, the political environment, or many other circumstances, difficulties, they make it difficult for them to make it happen. But so we have to create that environment so people can have broader access to opportunities, to resources, and so forth. Balanced market. So it's supporting innovation while safeguarding fairness, because innovation is very important. So this is kind of has to do with education, with really sharing, knowledge sharing, not just knowledge, but practical knowledge. Like nowadays, for example, transfer of technology is a very problematic. Like everybody want to keep their technology for themselves because the model is driven by profits. If I share my technology, I will lose my profits. But actually, when you look at these ESOP model, like this cooperative model, whether it's in Asia or in here in the United States or Europe, when like during the crisis, the housing crisis in 2008, many the big companies, they kind of downsized. There were some issues, but those companies that were cooperative, they kind of didn't downsize. They were able to mitigate that situation. It's the same in Korea. Big companies like Samsung or Hyundai had some issues, but small companies that were more connected, cooperative type, were able to thrive. So and then they have this way of innovating or adapting to situation and circumstances. And the last part is ethical management. So wealth must be guided by conscience. So through a conscious move, like I do things because I want to be fair. I want to serve. I don't want to do it in a way that is corruptive, in a way. Like I have like doing things in a sneaky way, but did in a very transparent way, so that we can move together. And today, actually, I think many people, the large population, they are very smart buyers or consumers, and they are striving to support companies that are more ethical in their practices. So this is also one of the core values of our Headwing movement. So now I want to compare it to nature, an economy that nourishes everything in its path rather than pooling in stagnant reservoirs. As you see, the water, the river, everything flows, and it nourishes everything, the plants, the animals, everything. There's no stagnation. It's moving around, goes maybe flow into the oceans and vice versa. It's really it's not stagnant. It's not stuck in one way, but it moved from like when you use economic terms, it moved from making money to serving the community to taking care of the environment, and then everything is taken care. So there's a natural balance. Balance leads to growth, renewal, and sustainability. We're talking about sustainable development. As long as we don't care for people, we don't care for society, we don't care for also the creator, of course, who have given us his model. We have to go back to the creator model. Like when you go to under a tree, the tree will not ask you, hey, why don't you give me carbon dioxide before I give you my oxygen? It's just natural. When you stand there, naturally, the tree will give you that. If you are well positioned, and we should live that way. That's the way we are created. That's the way we are wired. But the way we're functioning right now is very different. It's opposite. That's why you have problems. So you have to go back to that natural balance. So the economy has to go that way also. It should be a circulatory system. Just as hearts circulate blood, an economy must ensure wealth reaches every part of society. So the heart, when the heart's blood pump the blood, it doesn't just stop at the knees. It goes all the way to the toes, or it goes all the way to the head. It serves every part, and wealth has to be that way. Has to circulate, has to move, and then to make it alive. That's what we should do. That's what we promoting in a way. So I'm concluding that right now. So basically, this is what we at the Headwing kind of group. That's what we're trying to advocate. As I said, we're not trying to. It's not indoctrination. It's just a framework. It's just a bait or something that we offering to all of you or all of us, so that we can have a conversation, how we can make this world a better place, how we can think globally, how we can change this paradigm of nationalism, national borders, or in terms of economics, and also how we can come together as global leaders. So we ask you to join the movement of sharing this prosperity, so you can, through community enterprising, ethical leadership, and financial empowerment. So giving more people the opportunity to invest, own, and build together. So have businesses that embrace purpose-driven growth as the future of economics, and also have local ownership, creating local wealth and sustainable development for our communities. I will stop here. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope you got something from this.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Abe. I think that gave a pretty good overview of what we're trying to accomplish with this. And then we had a few comments in the chat. I'd like to ask Gordon Anderson if you would like to unmute and make a few comments, because you were one of the people that we referenced as we were putting together this document. Would you like to do that? All right, you need to unmute here. Let's try this. There we go.
I was hiding. Yeah, I put a comment there. I liked both presentations. I think I didn't find anything wrong that I would criticize in either one. I think Abdoulaye just presented the vision very straightforwardly as a vision, and In my question, I was thinking about how you get from that vision to policy. And the first presentation by John, Professor John Bellavance, did speak about the right and left wing and headwing. And if we're going to think in terms of headwing, in my view, it seems like the right wing emphasizes freedom and personal responsibility, whereas the left wing represents our social nature. In other words, communism, the left wing has concerned about economic justice. But there's a way to distribute, for example, ownership, and the as I put in my comment, would the false way be to centralize ownership like the ownership of the state like communism did, and then try to redistribute it, which makes the state sovereign and ignores individual sovereignty. And the other way, if you just let individuals run wild, do you end up with the eventual centralization of economic power the way we have it today, where you have no restraints at all? And do we, in policy, is there a positive way to redistribute ownership rather that's built on individual sovereignty rather than distribution of ownership based on state sovereignty? And that would mean that good state laws would regulate or limit the centralization of ownership, whereas the natural impulse of each person to achieve the three blessings, we're going to want to have ownership if we're trying to become true people, but that should be limited in a way. So would a positive law say limit ownership of land to 10,000 acres so nobody could just control all the land, rather than trying to centralize control of the land, but may have laws that would distribute or lead to the widest distribution of economic power? That's my comment.
I think, Alan, you have a response you wanted to give to that, right?
Yeah, thank you. Great to see you, Gordon. I just draw attention really to the introduction in our paper, because there's I think, an important statement there of what we believe. And it says here that we're advocating for a model that blends the dynamism of free markets with a proper role of government, really, and widespread ownership that enables individuals to thrive within a justice-driven economy. And then this idea of economic justice or social justice is something we touched on a little bit, but we're saying that economic and social justice does not require the forceful redistribution of wealth. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we had an economic system that distributed wealth kind of internally through the dynamics of the market system itself, as opposed to waiting for the political system to come together and redistribute the wealth through government? So instead, that consists of organizing with others. So this is kind of a definition of social justice, and as we see it, organizing and working with others to reform economic and social institutions that make it possible for everyone to participate in them fully, and then realize their just benefits from the contributions they give. So as Abe was mentioning, broader access is a hallmark of what we feel is central to moving forward into a better economy. What are those barriers? And then, so that does take a paradigm shift. And Avi mentioned some of it. A lot of it's a mental shift in how we think and feel, but also in our economic system. We need a new paradigm there. And also, John mentioned that left wing and right wing, and he said we need a new advanced left wing and new advanced right wing. So that's something that needs to come about. How we can get to this harmony is, the new different paradigm. And so ownership and creating access. And one last thing, one thing that I've studied a lot with the Center for Economic and Social Justice, it's the problem. What's the problem behind the problem in economics? What's the problem behind the problem? And it's really access to money and credit, so that people can fully participate and contribute. As Abdullah mentioned, you want people to contribute, not just live on dependency. So that's my 2 cents there. Thank you.
Yeah, I think one of the things we discussed a lot and argued about, perhaps, as we were working on this paper was how do you actually distribute wealth more equitably without just giving it away or stealing it, right? That's really one of the challenges of economics as a whole. But what we tried to do in this paper is focus on bigger principles around economics rather than, so what should be the principles that guide economic policies rather than looking at specific policies themselves, right? So I think Abe did a great job of outlining some of those things about ownership and about ethical principles and conscience and these kind of areas as well. We had a question from Johan asking if we plan to expand the white paper and what are the target groups to which the paper will be presented and offered. Does anybody want to tackle that, Alan, perhaps?
Well, we're kind of just trusting in the process, so we don't have a master plan, but we know this is just the beginning, and so we'll probably reconvene, and comments are always welcome. Of course, we've got some good feedback. Gordon did comment on some of the specifics in our paper. Jim Edgley's made some comments, so specific things. I know people are interested, and I'm interested in, is getting to some concrete areas as well. So we might move towards maybe some smaller pieces, Roger, focusing on different topics. That'd be my take. This is a broader view, as you said.
Yeah, one of the things we are planning to do is have a summit on these Headwing economics principles sometime in September. So we're planning that at the moment, trying to figure out an appropriate day, and we are looking for people who would like to participate in that, maybe to make a presentation on a specific topic, or to start expanding on the foundations that we've laid within this framework of Headwing economics. Actually, when we started out on this project, I said, we just need a 2 to 3 page paper.
Yeah.
And we found out it's a lot more difficult to write a 2 to 3 page paper than it is to write a 16-page paper. In fact, we ended up with about 40 pages and then we had to cut it down. So we want to have something that was readable, that we can give to people, that explains, I think, what it is, what are the foundations for that economic model that we want to create, the principles behind it. It's similar to what Marx did with his capitalist manifesto or something, where he starts from the premise that God does not exist and there is therefore we are materialistic beings and our value comes from labor, right? So we wanted to look at that. We wanted to look at the other models that are out there, the capitalist model, which is based on more on expediency, on kind of a survival of the fittest. Whoever can make the most money can, own everything, kind of thing. And what is the balance between those, and what are the principles that we need to put in place to really create a world that is going to encompass everybody and embrace everybody and support the ideals that we have of creating a one world family. Abe, would you like to add some comments to that too, about what we want to go next?
Yeah, I think we have discussed that, of course, Roger spoke about this conference that we're planning. We're planning also to have maybe write a paper that will be peer reviewed. We thought about that. That's another possibility. Also reach out to policymakers like Dr. Anderson suggested. Those kind of things, I think, understand. But this is a paper that we produce, but it's for everyone, all of you. It's not us. It's our paper. You have to think it that way. So whatever things you want to bring in, whatever suggestion you have, it's welcome. Thank you.
We have a number of people who have requested your PowerPoint too,
Yeah.
Abe and Alan, so we'll have to get those out to people afterwards. So do you have any thoughts on how to implement these ideas? There's a question from Susan here. How can we put them into reality? That these billionaires could buy into them and start living by them. And we do see some of that with things like the Gates Foundation or Warren Buffett donating millions of dollars. Or I just read Michael Bloomberg was actually the biggest giver to charities in the last 2 years. Gave billions of dollars away to charities. But is that what we're proposing here? What do you think? Yes, Alan.
Well, some of the webinars we had highlight some different solutions that people have come up with. We had a program called Roots where some wealthy real estate people were trying to reform how rental properties could turn into equity ownership of those properties, and they were managing it and including education to the people. So there's kind of corporate social responsibility efforts in all kinds of different areas. There was a gentleman we had featured who is trying to come up with a universal reward system. This is again on money and finance, because those are a lot of the barriers. And so that's innovative, trying to universalize the idea of rewards. So if people volunteer and do other things, they could earn rewards that they could spend. On the macro level, there's again a lot of this comes down to banking and finance. So there's ideas definitely out there where some changes could be made on policy, where giving more access to capital credit for individuals, because the wealthy people. So one way that things concentrate is because of the way the system is. And I have a quote here actually from someone. This was in response to the ideas put forth by the World Economic Forum. And he says, they base a lot of their stuff on the Keynesian economic model, but that's the current situation that's contributed to the concentration of wealth and power. So unless you have nothing truly new can emerge from a theoretical foundation that's contributed to that. So that's government, involvement, high involvement in the economy. So sometimes there needs to be rethinking of institutions and what are policymakers finding. It's not just laissez-faire, let everything go, or total government dominance, but it's finding new ways. So there are people working on it, and we'd like to feature those and continue to work on this, finding these convergent points.
Thank you. And Michael Kylie, I believe you'd like to make a comment if you want to unmute. Michael?
Yes. My brother owns a company which he built from the ground up that buys, rehabs, and manages low-income housing. And I think he has, probably 1,000 units of housing. And he's using the ESOP model that you spoke about before, in which he's working on distributing ownership of the company to the employees. And it seems to me that this is one opportunity, a rather specific one, that in which people who want to retire, who want to go out of business, instead of selling their corporations to another corporation or somebody to use the ESOP model in order to distribute ownership to the people who already have a vested interest in the company, having worked there. So that seems like one specific type of redistribution of wealth that doesn't involve the communist model of taking wealth from the rich and giving it to the poor.
Yes, thank you. I think that one of the things that we've really come to understand is that ownership is kind of basic to economics. It's a basic human right. It's right there in the Bible, right, where God blessed man and said, have dominion. And that implies that we can actually own property, and we can be able to manage that property, for the sake of others and for the sake of our families. And that enables people to build wealth in society. But how do you actually educate people to be able to be good stewards of the property that they receive or that they have earned, right? Anybody else have any thoughts, Alan?
Yeah, no. Aristotle said, "A free person who owns nothing but his labor is a masterless slave." So, to get more people involved in owning pieces of the growing economy, so as wealth is created and more people are benefiting from that, that'd be the goal of that's a high level goal of a society that has conquered some of the distribution bottlenecks. In the edited book from Professor World Peace Academy, there were two primary themes. One was ownership, and private ownership, of course, is essential to a well-ordered society. But is it just excessive ownership, or is it reasonable ownership based on your conscience? So that's one area. And then distribution is the other area that, can be improved through higher level thinking and policymakers, and with the vision of what we're trying to accomplish. And that's kind of the reordering of social institutions that can take place when there's a will of the people.
Thank you. Stefan Berg, you have a comment if you'd like to unmute. Sorry, try again.
Okay, there it is. Yeah, thank you very much for this wonderful seminar and ideas. In my business life, I've had two main businesses. One flower shop for 20 years, and now nearly 20 years in real estate investments. And in the apartments I have, I found is a big difference between ownership and tenants. It's responsibility, and I feel that ownership, I would rather emphasize responsibility. 99% of the tenants, are happy to just leave their trash and destroy and don't really care. But there are the few who really take care and, want to plant different plants. So you just make it their own by investing. And it becomes theirs. So responsibility leads to ownership rather than giving ownership with no responsibility. And having been growing up in Sweden, where it has kind of a socialist redistribution program, I know that there are a lot of people who take advantage of that kind of system. And the initial work ethic of just you have to work because Sweden is kind of cold in the winter. So if you have nuts piled up, you suffer. So the point is that the original work ethic was diluted when the government took a lot of taxes and redistributed it. And now there are lots. The work ethic has been a social re-education to basically say, I need government money. There are generations of families who are living on government money and handouts, and basically spinning their wheels and just complaining. They have several friends who still live in Sweden, and they talk about a few different things. And but it has been the point of responsibility is so important. So I cannot ownership is, I don't think is right. This people have understand consequences and responsibility. If there is none of that, it doesn't matter. If you give the low cost housing that many people are getting, it takes, or even in we tried it, but it's trashed, and you have to go in and fix it because they don't care. So thank you.
Thank you. I think Gordon Anderson has a response to that as well, if you want to come back on.
Yeah, it kind of follows both Stefan and Alan's last comment on Aristotle, who said, if you don't own something, you can't serve somebody, you can't host a party, you can't take care of a guest. You need to own property in order to actually love other people, I think, in order to serve those. And if you're getting just welfare payments and the government is limiting what you can get, or you're just getting a rental housing, you're not getting extra in which you can serve people. So that kind of inhibits you when you're dependent like that. It inhibits you from actually serving and loving other people.
Good point. So I think if we don't have any other comments at this point,
does Dr. Hendricks have anything he wants to add there? I remember reading some stuff from Dr. Hendricks on the economy, so he's put some thought into it.
Yeah, I do. I'm in a library, so I can't talk too much. But yeah, I think it begins. What occurred to me just listening to everyone: be fruitful, multiply, have dominion. Economics. Someone made the point is the have dominion part. But we begin with being fruitful, means become a mature person who lives for the sake of others. Then we create good families. And then on that foundation, I think ownership, dominion, the economy will prosper. And the theme of my article was shopping for the sake of others, and supply and demand. If the demand is for moral products, what parents taking care of their children, parents are not going to buy pornography and drugs and cigarettes and booze for their children. They're going to buy good stuff because they're shopping for the sake of their children, and they're investing more, for their children. So using this, I think pure capitalism, market economics is where it's at. But with that factor of shopping for others, then if the demand is for good quality moral products, then the suppliers who don't provide that will go out of business, and there'll be an incentive for suppliers, for producers to produce good stuff, and it'll be like Christmas every day. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I think we'll just take a few minutes to wrap up here. We will be sending out some follow-ups with the slide decks, and if you didn't get the actual document, we'll send that out again. We really would like people to provide their feedback. We want to know what's missing. What have we forgotten about? What other things do we need to include in this document that are important for these Headwing economic principles? And what do you think we got wrong? Okay, so We're not presenting this as the final document, but we want to grow and develop and have a conversation about it. So I'd like to give Abe a chance to say a few closing remarks too, and then Alan.
Anyway, thank you for your contribution, Dr. Hendricks, Dr. Anderson, and Stefan, is it right?
Stefan, yeah.
Stefan, great. Yeah, as Stefan said, there's no, there's saying that goes, there's no ownership without responsibility. So if you talk about ownership, it goes hand in hand with responsibility. If it's not there, then it's not ownership, it's false ownership. True ownership comes with the responsibility. You care for what you have been given, what you have in your hand. So anyway, we are very grateful for all the contribution, and we hope this can be just a stepping stone for a bigger thing. We please read the booklets and give your comments and help us move forward together to make a better world, a globalized world with an economic system that can function like the body, like everything else that is created that is functioning well. Thank you.
Thank you. And Alan?
Okay, well, thank you, everyone. Yes. I think if you look in the back of our paper, there's some resources that you can review and look at. Because I'm not an original thinker necessarily. I'm not, but there's a lot of good people thinking and working at trying to understand this problem, how we can move forward with a third way that Dr. Bellavance mentioned. In fact, the Center for Economic and Social Justice, which I belong to, they have a paper called The Third Way, the just third way. So there's ideas and stuff out there. In the bibliography, you'll also see something referring to well, Gordon Anderson. I would recommend reading Gordon Anderson's book too, Integral Society, and he's got a lot of things there. But that's what we're trying to move forward to, and help us to bring in the best people into our circle so we can connect with them and learn from them and apply the deeper, unification thought principles to create a strong whole. So I guess that's what I would offer.
Yes. We're trying to create the environment for the ideal world to be created. Okay. Thank you very much, everybody. We'll see you again next week on the UPF webinar.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Very good. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Very
Keep up the
interesting.
good work. Step
Thank you.
by step.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Tyler, good to see you.
Thank you. Nice to see
Yeah,
you, everyone.
Tyler.
Yeah.
Dr. Hendricks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
God bless you all.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Yeah.